Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I greet you all with the Islamic greetings of peace be upon you and with you. This is the second round of my talk on the media because during the first talk, during the webinar, I found out that the organizer had done a mistake and given the wrong date, so many people could not join, and they have been asking for it to be repeated as the talk was not recorded. As I was telling people during the first talk that I'm under quarantine and I was at home because some of my colleagues tested positive for coronavirus. So when the state, New York State, called me and said that I cannot even go for groceries, but that I should continue my work as a doctor, then I was joking with them, asking them, so you want me to staff, but you also want me to work? And she did not realize I was joking, and in a very serious voice, she was explaining. So, but the topic that we are dealing today is no joke. We are dealing with media, which is one of the most important, if not the most important tool that was developed by humanity. So my topic will be dealing with harnessing the power of mass media. As I said, it is the most powerful tool that humanity ever developed, and its power was evident during the French Revolution. At the time of the French Revolution, the society was divided into three states. The states were the clergy, the nobility, and the peasantry. And the peasantry or the masses were powerless, whereas the clergy and the nobility under the king enjoyed all the power. But then the mass media was invented, and the radical intellectuals and writers used the media to mobilize and motivate the masses to rise up, and the result was the French Revolution, where the king, the queen, and many of the nobles lost their heads. So did many of the clergy. It is then that the power of the mass media started to become evident, and it was called the fourth state. But soon, many people realized that the media has become too powerful. Here we see Oscar Wilde writing for the British. He says, "In old days, men had the rack, now they have the press. That is an improvement, certainly, but still it is very bad and wrong and demoralizing." Somebody, was it Burke, called journalism the fourth estate. That was true at the time, no doubt, but at the present moment it is the only estate. It has eaten up the other three. The Lord Temporals say nothing, the Lord Spirituals have nothing to say, and the House of Commons has nothing to say and says it. We are dominated by journalism. You see the beautiful writing there, full of bitterness and also satire. So the power of mass media, we are still witnessing it today when we see how it is being used in the wrong way by increasing hatred of Muslims. We see how the Tableeghi Jamat is being demonized and how the Muslims are demonized. But even in the early 20th century, we saw how the yellow journalism was invented during the Spanish-American War, and how the media in wrong hands could be used to unleash destruction and havoc, cause wars. We saw that Hitler using it in Germany. We saw it during the genocide in Rwanda, the recent genocide in Burma, the pogroms that have been going on in India. So this is another example of the Spanish-American War, when the newspapers owned by Hearth wanted to unleash war, whereas the government and many people with conscience did not want it. But the media started a campaign against Spain, saying that it is persecuting common people in Cuba, its colony, and that it should be liberated. And America was forced to send its warship to Cuba to see what's going on there, and the warship gets blown up and sinks. I mean, the experts at that time say that it was an accident, most likely in the boiler room. But the newspaper comes up with all these sensational headlines, and there was so much clamor and anger in the public that the government had to declare war in Spain. Eventually, Spain loses. America gets the colonies of Philippines and Cuba and becomes an imperial power. Incidentally, the southern islands, which were called Philippines, were actually a different country called Mindanao. The Sultanate, or the Kingdom of Mindanao, which was a Muslim kingdom, it was taken over by Spain, and then it lands in American hands, and we see a war of independence being led by the Muslims there, and Islamophobes like Trump sometimes allude to that war. We see this power being misused during the current pandemic, when Modi, having committed the blunder of not paying attention to the impending pandemic and spending his time trying to woo Trump, trying to be in his nice book, inviting him over, and when he realized that India will be taken over by the pandemic, as usual, the RSS think tank asked him to start blaming the Muslims, and Tableeghi Jamat, which used to be in the good books of the government because it would be apolitical, it had never stood up against the government, never said a word against the pogroms, but Modi got a good scapegoat and he threw the Tableeghi Jamat under the bus. Another slide from a few days ago, how the whole attention is being diverted from Modi's failures to Tableeghi Jamat being blamed for introduction of the virus in India and the spread of virus. Never mind the fact that many days before that, a man who happened to be a Hindu had come from Dubai and had infected many people because he threw a party of 1,500 people. Many people coming from Dubai, both Hindus and Muslims as well as Christians and Sikhs, had tested positive. There were many Shia Zaireen who had come from Iran. There were many Hindu pilgrimage going on in the temples. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people when you take the whole total into consideration, because every temple would have tens of thousands of people. But the media started blaming Tableeghi Jamaat. Another cartoon there where you see the green man being the Tableeghi spreading the virus. So we have to have a media strategy to deal with this weapon. See, people blame the media for many things. We are always complaining, especially people who do not want to do anything. It's very easy for them to excuse themselves by bringing in conspiracy theories and just spending time on the WhatsApp and social media, other social media, talking about media, blaming it. But what is media? Media is a medium. Media is a weapon. You cannot blame a machine gun or a fighter jet or a battleship or any other weapon or medium or a computer for bad things. You have to see who is using these tools, who is using these weapons, and people who have good intentions will use these tools for good purposes, and people who have bad intentions will use them for bad purposes. So we have to have a strategy to deal with this most important tool. And the strategy has to be a comprehensive one. We have to have two legs of the strategy. One is the media monitoring and the other one is the media response. So media monitoring in itself will have to be a very comprehensive effort. We have to monitor the social media. That means WhatsApp, that means Twitter, that means Instagram, all other social medias. We have to monitor the print media. We have to monitor the broadcast media. That means the television stations and the radio stations. The radio stations may not be as important in India as they are in America. The rise of Tea Party and the win of Trump was possible not just because of Fox TV, but mostly because of the radio stations. I was once driving from New York to Chicago, and I wanted to see what kind of things are being said on the talk radio. So every 50 miles, I would get a news station in that area, and everybody would be talking things about against Islam and against immigrants, against Muslims. So people who are working have no time to read newspapers or watch TV, but they can put the radio on, listening to music or to talk radio. So talk radio can be used for good purposes or bad purposes. So we might get overwhelmed thinking, how can we monitor all this, thousands and thousands of media institutions? Well, it should not be difficult in India where, 200 million, more than 200 million, more than 20 crore Muslims live. Our retired people who are well educated, they can be involved in that. Our women and girls who are well educated but have become housewives, they can do a very good job, and even people who are illiterate can monitor the TV stations and radio stations. And then monitoring itself is not enough. There has to be a network from a local level where in the cities and the regions and states and the national level, we network, we exchange notes as to what's going on, what happened today, and then we respond to it. So the response has to also have different levels. Here I'm talking about how retired persons and women and who are housewives and everybody else can monitor the media and participate in the media response. So in the media response, immediately if there's something bad or good, many times journalists come out with fair coverage. They come out with fair coverage, but then they come under attack from the fascist and the supremacist forces, and their editors come under attack, their sponsors, their advertisers come under attack, and we do not go to aid them. We never write or call to say what an excellent and fair job they have done. And also, of course, when negative coverage happens, we have to phone them, call them, and if thousands of people are calling a media institution, you can flood their switchboard. I mean, their phone lines become completely, useless, and they will have to pay attention. We, similarly tweeting and saying what a bad job, what a hatchet job they have done, and then, emailing them. So this is an immediate response, but then a little delayed response is letter writing. Address the letter to the editor. The letter has to be to the point, to be around 100, 150 words, not a long letter. The shorter, the better. And we can have a mass letter writing campaign. We can give a template, and people can just adjust, modify a little bit, and send it with their names. And then op-ed, about around 700 words of a sharply focused, crisply written article. And eventually they have to publish it, especially the good media. And then we can also have mass campaigns, mass phone calls, like I said, but then protest, more protest rally, mass tweets, mass letters, and this has to be done at, regional and national level, and domestically, and also international media. India is such a big media market that all major newspapers from the world and all news agencies have their offices in Delhi. So make friends with them, be in contact with them. And my next slide, if it is there, I will elaborate it more in how to work proactively. So because I have talked about media response, which is a reaction, but then proactively. So talking about proactive media relations, we make friends with newspapers, from the local newspaper and TV reporters who are doing the beat, to meeting with the editorial boards of your local or city newspapers, national newspapers, but more importantly, the international newspapers. Make friends with them so that you can give them tips, because they're always looking for tips, for stories to cover. Invite them to cover events like your symposium, events like special the namaz that you offer for Eid, or special food that you cook on festivals, special clothes that you wear, cultural programs, invite them to eat dinner, etc. We have to be a little bit, intelligent and do not invite them for qurbani, etc. Here I will just talk about my own personal experience. When I was in first year of medical college, Usmania Medical College, Enadu has come up with a newspaper. I think it was News Time, and I started writing letters there on social problems such as the party houses or shadi khanas, function halls in locally where music late in the night would be disturbing the sleep and the studies, etc. It would get covered, and the police would take action. Immediately after my medical school, when I came to the US, I saw an article on Palestine which was completely biased. And at that time, very few Muslims in America were active in the media. There was an old person called M.T. Mehdi from Iraq, a PhD doctor, very eloquent. He used to go there, and once he was beaten up by a Jewish terrorist organization called JDL, but he realized what I was doing and he encouraged me. But the very first letter I wrote on Palestine, it was published, and some threats were made. So the relatives with whom I was staying at that time, they got scared and they said, do not give our addresses for your letters. So I was very disturbed. How can I live in a country where I cannot even defend my community and myself? So I went to the nearest African American mosque and asked their permission. And of course, they said, gladly, use our mosque, our masjid address. And I started doing it, then became more organized. And after the first World Trade Tower bombing in 1993, one of my journalist friends, because I had made friends in the media writing and asking them to cover Eid, etc., she informed us that there is a press association meeting on Long Island, and she suggested I go there. So Dr. Zahid Bukhari and I went, and there I spoke emotionally. I said, how come when the Irish Republican Army bombs in London, nobody goes and asks the Irish or the Catholic for the response, but something happens in the Middle East, and it is only then you come and ask for our response. You never cover the, us as a normal community. We are doctors and pharmacists and businessmen. At that time, IT field was not huge. Now we have mostly great IT professionals. So the editor said, listen, we don't know about you. You never inform us, never send us press releases about your festivals, about your cultural functions. Invite us. We have lots of space to cover. If you tell us, we will come and cover you. And we started doing that. And it had led to an excellent media relations with the reporters. We get nice and beautiful coverage. There are the Islamophobic elements in the media who will be always against us. But excellent coverage, even great documentaries have come out. And now there are national media associations doing the media work like CARE, and every city has good media work, especially by the youngsters who are born here. So similar works need to be done. So it's very important we support the sympathetic mainstream media. You have the NDTV there, and other, the Wire, for example. Support them. Support their advertisers. Wire is under tremendous stress. Give them your donations. Support fair journalists by writing letters, by tweeting. Barkhadat, Ravish Kumar, and others. So far I had dealt with the mainstream media, which is not owned by Muslims. It requires lots and lots of money to have a TV channel, but radio stations can be launched by Muslims. Newspapers can be launched. News sites can be launched. And these sites may be closed down by the government, especially now that the fascist takeover in India is almost complete. So if the newspaper people or the media people are put in jail, we support their families. We support putting up a new institution if one is closed. Clarion India, which used to be called Carvan Daily, is doing an excellent job. Why not support it? Why not give you money for that? Two Circles Net coming from Boston, Kashif al-Huda is doing an excellent job, just like Ejaz Zaka Sayyed writes excellently and runs Clarion India run by Ejaz Zaka Sayyed. Then Zubair running Muslim Mirror, etc. Radiance and Dawat of Jamaat Islami. Similarly, newspapers like Jamiatul Ulama, private newspapers like Siyasat from Hyderabad and Siyasat from Gujarat, Etemad and others. So support our media. We spend so much money on parties, etc. When we are making budget, every month we should have some money to support our media as well as fair mainstream media. Unless we do that, like I said, if you do not do it, then you will die, you will perish. It's a battle of survival. So we have to think about all this. And then to talk about this, social media, it's a whole new animal, whole different animal. You have to have lots of people tweeting and networking and doing journalism on the Facebook, etc. See, if we do not do it for good purposes, like the people of Egypt did, who brought in a peaceful revolution against Hosni Mubarak, which was unfortunately turned back because of the money and involvement of Saudi Arabia and the UAE with the help of Israel. But a very good revolution took place without shedding blood because of Facebook. Similarly, on the other side of the coin, in Burma, Myanmar, very close to India, next door, the Buddhist extremists and the military used the Facebook to spread hatred against Muslims. And we saw a genocide happening. We saw a genocide in Rwanda. So young people who are very good with Twitter, very good with Facebook, with Instagram, etc., can use this. So, as I said, the media is a very powerful tool. Media is a medium. Without medium, things do not happen. For example, Iqbal says in Shikwa, when Muslims are complaining to God, to Allah, Iqbal takes the liberty and says that, "Oh Allah, you were there from eternity, like a flower, beautiful flower in the garden, which was the universe, but your scent, your khushbu, your Islam was not spread." And it was not spread because there was no medium, that there were no Muslims. So it took the Muslims from the time of Nuh alayhi salam to now to spread Islam, to spread God's word, to spread truth, to spread peace and justice. He says, "Thi to maujood azal se hi teri zaat-e qadim, phool tha zebe chaman par na pareshan thi shamim, shart insaf hai ay sahab-e altaf-e amim, buye gul phailti kis tarha jo hoti na nasim." So with that, underlining the importance of mass media and urging you all, especially the young people and the retired people and people with money, to spend their money. Hopefully we can turn the tide, save India, save Indian democracy, save rule of law, bring prosperity to India, and same thing with America and everywhere else, because fascism is on the rise everywhere. And then also survive and flourish as a community. Jazakallahu khair. Akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Lots of questions had come during the first webinar on the media, asking for my contact information. It is there on the first slide. Twitter is at Sheikh Ubaid, SHAIKUBAID. There is no H after K in that. And on Facebook it is Sheikh SHAIK, middle initial M, last name Ubaid with a UBAID. Lots of suggestions had come how to network. If you write to me, I can put you in connection. How to start a radio station. And we had also discussed how for both the first Gulf War and the second, first the public opinion was prepared with the help of the media. We all remember the weapons of mass destruction which were not there. We saw the hearing about how Saddam's forces, after invading Kuwait, were killing babies in the hospital, which was not true. Saddam was a bad man. I mean, at one time he was a darling of America, but how, when even before he had invaded Kuwait, Time magazine had run a cover story on the most dangerous man in the world. So media is very powerful, and it is a very powerful weapon, but we can have access to it, we can own it. So let us network and do a good job. And things have also been asked some questions about Arab intellectuals now taking up the issue of Hindutva spreading its tentacles in the Gulf countries. That happened because a few people had been working diligently to educate and inform the intellectuals. Let us now be very calm and quiet and deliberate and strategic. If we make too much noise, then the Modi government may ask the UAE or the Oman or the Saudi government to shut these intellectuals up. So let us be very quiet. Let the intellectuals do the work and educate the Arab public. So all this has to be done in a very deliberate and strategic fashion. Just like weapons should not be given in the hands of people who are not mature or who are emotional. Similarly, media should be handled by people who understand it. Again, thank you all for attending this program.